And I would love to hear how everybody's doing if we want to do a round of check-ins. Um, Thanks everyone for being so flexible these past few weeks because as I said before, I've had to cancel the last few with everything going on and traveling out to Colorado. But I'm very glad that we're all able to get together, especially with the summit that's coming up in just a few months when Penny and Joe and Benji are going to be coming to visit us and coming to Toronto. So yeah, I wanted to make sure that we were able to meet so we could talk a little bit more about how we can all kind of come together and what our plans might be for that. So yeah, I can just do my check-in real quick. I'm doing pretty well. Tired from my trip last week to Colorado. I have the updates that me and Benji have been working on that are available in the design school if anybody's interested, and I'd be happy to answer any questions on here too if we have any. And would anybody else like to go next to check in? I can just call on someone.
Sure. I'm in Paladin. Hi, Brian. And it's a beautiful day, and I've been just putzing around waiting for this call actually all day. And that's all I have to say right now. And I'll pass it to Kim.
Thank you, Susan. Everything's fine here in Cleveland. Shifting over from work to come here. Looking in on a couple of big Great Lakes events happening in Cleveland in mid-October, and I saw that one, there's going to be, a bunch of governors here and announcing, and premier from Canada announcing planting 250 million trees by 2033, something like that. I just saw today. And I had invited some people that I saw over the weekend from the Northeast Ohio Earth Restoration Collaborative. And you've met Kelly here before. She's got a regenerative farm here, but I don't think they're able to hop in today. But just trying to be local, regional, global, I don't know, finding a place. So it's good to be here. Thank you. Penny, I choose Penny here.
Hi, everybody. I'm doing well, getting ready to go. We're leaving on Wednesday early morning for Cascadia. And we just said goodbye to Elise this morning, so it's sort of sad. And but we'll get to see her again in about 2.5 weeks. She's gonna travel out to Cascadia. And I'm just finishing up some work getting ready for the intergenerational zone that will be coming into the design school in the time that we're away, most likely. So just finishing that up and preparing the orientation space for that. So that's what I'm working on today, and tomorrow will be packing day. Yeah, so I'll pass to Brian.
Hello, everybody. Doing well. Been really nice weather here. In fact, a little too nice because we haven't had rain for almost a month. So could really use some rain at this point. And just looking forward to catching up with everybody. I'll pass it over to Jonathan.
Yeah, doing well as well. And we're getting ready for a large garage sale and fundraiser for our nonprofit, the Possible Planet. The weather's holding out so far for us, although the plants probably would appreciate a little more rain, but I think we're doing actually quite well in the garden. So I'll pass it on to Chad.
You're breaking up, Chad.
doing it's quite glorious up there. So I'm bringing that with me back down, and yeah, just good to be here. I'm going to be just listening in for most of the call, but very much looking forward to the conversation. Am I the last one? Anybody else? Victoria?
Yeah, Victoria still needs to go.
Hi, yeah, as Jonathan said, we're busy preparing for a fundraiser garage sale. So I'll probably have my video off. I love collecting stuff from the sidewalks and going to church sales and stuff like that, repurposing stuff. Our whole house is second, third, fourth hand. So it's fun for me, just a matter of time. And we have so much to do on the regeneration of land for sure. So, but all kinds of opportunities, and hey, we're going to be living here for a while, so it doesn't have to be done overnight. So anybody else?
I think that's everyone. And Susan has her hand raised. Just to give you guys a quick little overview of what I pictured the agenda for this meeting being was Brian wanted to share some updates from the Legacy Project. We had a really wonderful email thread going with some things. So I don't know if Kim would like to chat at all about some of the things that she's seeing a little bit more in Cleveland. And then I know Susan also had some stuff to share. And then at the end, we can start talking about what we might be thinking in terms of the summit. So Susan, would you want to go first?
Yeah, I wasn't about sharing for the agenda. It was just to add on to my update. I totally forgot to mention that next Saturday is the second social that I have invited the local design school community together. We met earlier this spring, had a great time, and so I'm having another one on Saturday, and Owen and I decided to open it up to all of our networks, so we only have to do it once. So while there are not many design school members available next Saturday, I do think there'll be at least 4, maybe 5. There's a few new members in this area, so they'll get to come out to the campfire, and it's mostly going to be centered around music, drum circles and saxophone players and community participation. So I anticipate of having between 30, maybe 50 people here, and it's not about food. The potluck really is more about who shows up. It's the potluck people rather than potluck food, and where everybody's supposed to come totally self-contained. If they brought snacks or blankets, they don't have to feed anybody else. So the pressure's off for that, and it's just about mingling and making music together. So I'm looking forward to that, and I wanted to add that into the update. Done.
Wonderful, thank you. And I see Chantal has joined us too. Chantal, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'll just.
I guess where you're calling from, what brings you here, that would be wonderful.
So very directly, Kim brings me here. She sent me the link. I'm calling from the Credit River watershed in Halton Hills, Ontario. So we're within the Great Lakes bioregion. I'm a local municipal councillor, and I'm also very interested in restoring inner and outer ecosystems and the interplay between the two. Yeah. And I've heard Penny, and I know Susan and Brian. We've emailed briefly, so feels like a lovely group. And I'm just going to be listening in because I'm kind of in multitask mode right now. So I'm going to turn my camera off, but I'm listening. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. We're always excited to have new members. Okay. Well, I guess, Brian, would you like to start out with some of the updates that you wanted to share?
Sure. Thanks. Am I getting a bit of?
I'm going to mute Victoria's iPhone. Okay. I think we should be good now.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds better. Yeah, we're working on plans for the upcoming 7th Generation Summit, and it's going to be toward the end of January. Dates are still working on, we're going to be planning a week-long series of events, and basically doing the fractal scale linking. So looking at the greater Toronto bioregion and the Bioregional Learning Center, Bioregional Foundation, portfolio projects, and the different things that we're starting. So part of it will involve the eco leaders, the students and elders that are participating in the eco leader zone, intergenerational zone. Part of it will involve connecting across the Great Lakes to all of your areas and what you're working on. And then we're going to connect outwards from the Great Lakes to Cascadia, to the Colorado River Basin, to Acadia in Maine, to India. So basically all and the Cascadia and all the bioregional areas that are being activated around the world. So connecting to planet. So it's going to be a mixture of in-person and virtual events, and also live streaming some of the events. So there will be a lot going on, and you can participate from where you are, or you're welcome to attend in person. And the whole idea with the fractal scale linking is to get people thinking about their place, and then how what they're doing in their place connects across the Great Lakes, connects across North America, connects planet-wide, as we're all working together to regenerate the planet. And it'll be the launch of Bioregional Earth. So a lot going on. Joe and Penny will be attending, Benji, Anna, and whoever else is welcome. So in terms of the Great Lakes, we can think about in the next couple of months what we might like to share, or maybe we all do a common activity and share it at the summit. One option is for us all to do a little bit of work on what a bioregional learning center might look like in your bioregion, and how that might take shape, and maybe that becomes the theme for the Great Lakes, is linking the genesis of all of the bioregional learning centers around the Great Lakes. We're also working on not only a bioregional foundation for the GTB, but also a Great Lakes funding ecosystem. We're connecting, when we connected with different foundations, when Joe and Penny were here at the end of July, early August, it became apparent that there are ways that we can connect across the Great Lakes through things like the community foundations, through some other umbrella groups of funders. And we also have interest from some potential impact funds who are interested in a Great Lakes wide lens in terms of what they do. So there's, and we have some interest from some international folks who are doing similar things in other parts of the world, who might be able to help inform what we do here around the Great Lakes. So more to come on that as we continue to work on it, and that will probably be one of the sessions or themes of the summit, is a Great Lakes funding ecosystem, a collaborative ecosystem. So I think I've covered off all the main things. There are some things happening in the background that I can't really get into right now because it's sensitive, and we're trying to let it evolve organically from the grassroots. But there's some things happening in the background that could be foundational for all of us around the Great Lakes, and that will be hopefully when we get close to the summit and at the summit. If that all comes together, it will be a strong foundation for us all moving forward. So I think that covers it. So happy to answer any questions or explore anything that I've talked about.
Yeah, Susan, would you like to go first?
Thank you. Yes, Brian, have you, as Great Lakes, whenever I hear us talking about the Great Lakes, it seems to be heading more south towards Buffalo and at the lower end of the Great Lakes. And there are so many communities north of the Takaranto area, and myself in Caledon, that I have never heard you refer to when you talk about reaching outward. You jump from where Kim is and Jonathan is all the way over to India. And, you know, my gosh, there's a lot of bioregions just north of you and me here. So why isn't, or maybe your, or our wording of Great Lakes, maybe can be maybe more clear, because Great Lakes to me takes in Lake Erie, Lake Superior.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We're talking the whole Great Lakes Basin, all the Great Lakes, Lake Superior, Lake Huron, etc. And Chad is starting work in his area in Michigan, which links into Lake Huron, and the GTB extends out your way, Susan, and up to Lake Simcoe, and Lake Simcoe eventually drains into the Great Lakes Basin. So all of the areas up there. I was just talking with, in terms of the people that are here in this particular meeting and what has started so far. But yes, as we reach out across the Great Lakes, we want to try and help activate the entire Great Lakes Basin over time. So does that cover everything, Susan, that you wanted to ask? Anything else?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a big project for sure. I just like to hear us. I just like to know that you haven't jumped from our bathtub over to India quite so quickly.
No, I'm going from the GTB to the whole Great Lakes Basin. That's the next level up, subcontinental scale, and then linking with Cascadia, linking with the Colorado River Basin and other parts of Turtle Island, and then linking outwards across the planet to India, where the design school has members right now, and we've got some members in the UK, and in other points around the world.
Great.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention that I mean, I know that Kim has been doing a wonderful job at doing outreach and just inviting people in as well. But yeah, so we're always looking for people. I've been in touch with some people in Michigan as well, to try to welcome more people in from across the Great Lakes and not be just in Lake Erie and Lake Ontario for sure. So we're always looking for opportunities to connect with other people around the Great Lakes, both north and south of the border. So I have a couple of questions. My first one is for you, Brian. When you're talking about the collaborative funding ecosystem session, is that one going to be virtual so that we're able to, because I think that would be wonderful to be able to invite people from across the Great Lakes into that one, just so that they're aware of what's happening, or are you planning on having that in person?
Yeah, it'll definitely be virtual or live streamed. for sure. Yeah, anything that is relevant across the Great Lakes, we want to make it accessible to everyone around the Great Lakes Basin to attend or to view, for sure.
Great. And then my next question is for Penny, and then also anybody else here. I know that I'm very interested in having some event in Buffalo, although I think that a lot of that would depend on when the Toronto one is. I'm part of a migratory birding festival that's in the early weeks of February. So I think a lot of my contacts will be caught up, probably getting ready for that. But I'm wondering if, Penny, you guys have plans to potentially extend, or do you have like flexibility around that time to do multiple trips again?
Yeah, we were thinking about Buffalo in particular, Anna, and also Maine. So we were thinking most likely we'll be going over to see Roberta in Maine in this same trip.
Okay.
So depends on timing, but that's a good thing for Brian to know too, in terms of, because they're trying to figure out between, I think, 3 different weeks for the summit. So maybe we can coordinate in coordination with what's good for Buffalo as well. For that, like if we needed to go before, so that we would in January and then come to the summit, but we could all coordinate together around that.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I believe it's going to be February 9th to the 12th. So as far away from that time as possible would be best for Buffalo, for sure. Yeah, and then I guess posing to the rest of the group as well. I'm not sure which other areas are really hoping to be able to host events or not. I know that we've kind of talked about it in Cleveland. And so Kim, I'm not sure if you're able to answer that question, or that's a question for Peter, but if you want to share what you were going to share.
Yeah, I think I haven't talked about this with Peter or Dave, and so I mean, there's lots of separate conversations going on. So I'm curious: is this a 7-generation summit, a design school summit? What I don't know that much about the summit, and how inclusive is it of all kinds of work that's being done that may not know of the design school, or the design school may not know of it. You know what I mean? So I'm just curious about how that works together.
Yeah, it's a 7-generation summit, moving the work in the GTV forward, and then helping to connect and move forward work in the Great Lakes, and then again making those planetary connections to other areas in Turtle Island and around the world. The sessions will be focused on elements, the key elements for moving forward the Bioregional Learning Center, the collaborative funding ecosystems, both here in the GTV and across the Great Lakes, and the portfolio projects, the intergenerational zone, so a session for the students and elders, and another theme may be social prescribing, which is sort of the health and healing circle work that we're getting started here as well. That could be a theme. We're just identifying themes that help to move the whole work forward, and it's open to anyone to attend. It's not just for the design school. It's open for anyone to attend in person or virtually or live stream. And there won't be any cost to attend, or to attend live stream or virtual. It'll all be open to anyone around the world.
Nice. And you're doing all of the planning. You have all of that together.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you.
And as I said, for the Great Lakes part of it, I know Jonathan and Victoria are working on their Bioregional Learning Center, and we are here as well. So that could be a theme. If Kim, you and Peter and Dave wanted to look at what could a bioregional learning center look like in Cleveland, and then that could be a theme for the Great Lakes. So that could be a theme, and the collaborative funding ecosystem could be a theme for the Great Lakes basin.
Yeah, I guess.
Just something to think about.
Oh, right. I'm in, well, one is done, but there are two co-creating regenerative ecosystem sprints I was part of. I didn't really learn so much, but in a regenerative economics cohort right now. So I think there may be some connections there, but I wouldn't know how to bring them in, but they just may be there. So just know that. Also some connections with people up in Lake Superior, Indigenous friends up around the St. Mary's River area.
Yeah, and so Jonathan, Victoria, and Chad, maybe if you guys have any interest in participating, we can always chat at another time too. I know that you guys are all quite busy, so not sure if you're thinking potentially of taking part in this summit as well. And oh, not sure if Jonathan's trying to. Hi, Jonathan.
Hi, still very much up in the air for us.
Okay, great.
I assume we will do something, but we're spread a little thin, and it would be great if you see an opportunity, a specific opportunity would be great. I don't think people from here are going to go up to Toronto because we're not established well enough. But if you're thinking of a separate trip here, I don't know that we're going to have the time to organize, a special trip here in Rochester.
I'll leave my phone is about to die and I don't have a charging cable. Yeah. Battery pack.
Hi, Elliot.
Hello. How's it going?
Good. Would you like to check in real quick with us? We're just talking about the Bioregional Summit coming up in January.
Okay, I'm alive. I'm walking up a hill. I'm here with my friend Hayden. We spent the day with some Trent students and life is good.
Great. And then Kim, I saw your hand up if you wanted to say something.
Yeah, just to like an afterthought that it's like the summit's a really nice opportunity for local groups to just plan something, and hook in some way, even if it's a watch party or, something like that, no matter where we are in the bioregion. And I saw in the chat, Chad said he hopes to plan something. He says, I hope to something. I think plan something. I don't know. So I think it's great. Thank you, Brian, for doing this.
Yeah, that's a great idea. You can think about watch parties or other ways that you wanted to tie in to the themes, or anything you wanted to do in advance to tie in. We're open to ideas.
Great. Yeah, and I wanted to mention that some of the people that I'm connecting with in Buffalo, Brian, I've already kind of shared with you a little bit. They are very much environmentally based, but I have joined a book club that focuses on that was actually stemmed from Active Hope, which is, I can't remember the author's name, but it's very similar to, Joe's book about talking about collapse and moving forward and having that hope that is that we can move forward within collapse, and find some solutions. And so I have recommended Joe's book as well. And apparently some of the book club members actually attended virtually the Rochester event last year. So they are already familiar with what Joe and Penny talked about when they came up last time. And then I also have joined the Western New York Environmental Alliance and the Great Lakes Ecoregion Network, who I think would also likely be interested in having some sort of talk or hosting some sort of talk for you guys to come to Buffalo. So we'll have to figure that out too. And yeah, I know that those are not necessarily holistic groups, but they do have a bioregional lens that they like to look at. So I'm hoping that will be those will be some good connections. And some people even mentioned that they would be open to coming up to Toronto too. So I'm sure that if if we had something in Buffalo, we'd be more than welcome. Our Rochester friends would be more than welcome, but we also might be able to get some people to go up to Toronto. All right. Does anybody else have any questions for Brian or about the summit at all? Okay. Awesome. Well, I wanted to just give some quick updates on the Colorado River Basin retreat that I attended last week. I did post the longer presentation that Benji and I created in the chat. I'll post it again if you guys really want to dive into some of the stuff that we talked about while we were there. It was a really wonderful 5 days that we spent together. I think that Colorado is so different than where we are now. I think that we're going to be finding a very different needs and very different ways to move forward. So I don't want to spend too much time going into it, but I think that it was very nice to be able to bring people together again, to have these in-person meetings that I think would be really wonderful if we could get something around the summit or potentially after the summit, where we could start planning more of those in-person campfires that we've discussed potentially in Cleveland. I know that Jonathan and Victoria have been hosting some in-person events as well. So, I think that some of those things, it would be really great if, as we do start moving forward with this idea of bioregional learning centers, that we are able to connect people across different locations, that we could have some sort of cohesive strategic visioning moving forwards, that we're all kind of on the same page. Some of the things that we also did were land connections and learning exchanges too, which were really beneficial for different parts of the Colorado River. We had people from Mexicali, Mexico come up to the headwaters in Colorado, and that was very beneficial, where they were able to learn about different water management techniques that the headwaters, which are far more advanced in terms of like using permaculture principles to reestablish the water table underneath our like the groundwater, that they just don't have those resources or those techniques that they're using in Mexico as widespread as they were in Paonia. So I think like the learning exchanges and having those in-person connections were just like the two of the biggest outcomes that we had at the retreat. And I think that it would be wonderful if sometime in the spring or summer next year, if after the summit, that maybe we think about having some of those connections and in-person activities as well. And then finally, I wanted to, we were having a really awesome email thread that was discussing the different ways that we can communicate the need for bioregionalism and regeneration, that I thought was really, really wonderful to hear about. So, Kim, I know that it kind of started out with your your movie that you were going to go see, the Canary screening. And I was wondering if you went to see it and if we wanted to have a little bit more of an in-depth chat, kind of bringing what we were all discussing in the email thread to our meeting.
Yeah, I think a high level view, maybe just, with my job, I'm always interested in science communication, like how to communicate anything and provide context. And then with the bioregional and other work, including in science, I'm really care about other ways of knowing combined with science. How do we share that, or that kind of thing. So I don't know, the email of a lot of people shared, Brian and who has Chad, I think, Dave. There was a conversation about how to, different Elliot, people's perspectives on speaking with people in business, kind of the why. And I feel like it's just we're getting a sense of what it is and how to share information. I think, I don't know if you had any other thought on that. But what comes into like my field is a lot of really good communication that people are already doing that I had no idea, especially around the Great Lakes. And these are people we could definitely connect with, and I don't know in what way. And so I've got some really nice samples of videos. And just today, and I think this is because Roberta shared about a university in Maine getting a grant it was a braiding Indigenous wisdom and science together. I looked up what that website is from UMass, and it's just amazing. So all of the stuff that we're kind of, going slowly toward, at least where I live, is like going really slowly toward. It's happened. I mean, it's like a shift has happened in different parts of the world. So I'm excited about that. And I was just typing a little summary, not of our conversation, but to try to remember what was in that email. And I'll also put the link to the Center for Braiding Indigenous Knowledges and Science together. It's very impressive. So that we can go from there.
Yeah, Brian.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, when Joe and Penny were here in February, Joe did a sit-down interview with Dr. Dan Longboat from Trent University, who started the Indigenous Environmental Education Institute. And he and Joe had a great conversation about bringing together Western science and Indigenous knowledge and worldviews for the third way. And we're still working on editing that piece because it was so powerful. We wanted to take the time to do a good job on it. And we also wanted to release it at a really good time. And we hope to have Dr. Longboat and Joe continuing that conversation at the summit. That will be one of the themes, one of the main themes. And we'll be releasing their conversation in advance of the summit. There will be, there's much more on that going on behind the scenes that could potentially be very powerful for the summit. So just wanted to mention that it's very much in keeping with the UMass work. And there is, like you said, Kim, I think there's this shift occurring where this coming together is going to be very powerful.
I also have a lot of interest in the communication piece. My background isn't in so much in weaving in indigenous processes and thoughts with scientific frameworks, but I there is quite a bit of research in how to in framing of different science topics, and I think that one of the frameworks that I really like is the commons framework that Paul Baines, I think well, Kim, I think you remember him. He came from the Great Lakes Commons to one of our earliest meetings. He actually has this really interesting webinar on the Great Lakes Commons website that I can post here that talks about how we can frame stewardship in commons terms rather than talking about water management or environmental management in the typical ecological sense. It's focusing more on values and how we can motivate people to want to engage in some of this work. And I think the Frameworks Institute is also a really interesting organization that puts out a lot of research and using metaphors and framing techniques to motivate audiences, especially audiences that might not be familiar with a lot of the scientific principles, and it makes it more accessible. So yeah, that's what that video is. Everyone's so quiet today. Most everybody has their cameras off too.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's just a wealth of information and people doing work, and it's not even like working to convert anyone towards something. It's like, and it's local too. It's like and being described as we're just trying to figure out what is it that we're in? How is it that we are working together, right? So that's at least how it is here from people I know.
Like how do you communicate some of these super duper complex problems in a way that people understand and feel like they can make sense of it like that?
No, I'm more thinking of people that already are aware of they're
Mhm.
already aware, you know. So what's next? And bioregional learning centers are one way to bring people together, to work on that or take action. I mean, some people are obviously, can do more and take action and have been working on this for a while. Others are just, wow, I didn't realize our water's in such jeopardy, or, just things like that.
Mm.
But people are doing things like, if I could quickly find these videos, which I can't, that's what I was looking for. You can see some really nice, like partnerships that are working across the Great Lakes. I mean, there's so many, how do they work together? So I think in relationships, so what's the design school's relationship with all these different groups? How can we support? How can they support? How can we, be together like that? So really just relationships. And I think that we as a group, as a Great Lakes group, can figure out how it is that we reach out or are just there, in nurturing this bioregional sensibility.
Susan?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Kim, that just came to mind. Just this morning, I heard that there's a group that is called ECA. It's the Escarpment Corridor Alliance, and it's a group of people who are concerned about the future of the southern Georgian Bay escarpment area. So just listening here, if I know of a group or I hear of a group like that, is that something that I could do as maybe an ambassador for the design school, or for to put them in touch with Brian? I'm asking for some advice. I hear of this group doing something locally. It seems to be in alliance with what our global picture. How do I reach out? Or should I reach out? Anyone?
Yeah, like you say, there are so many different groups out there. Because of we wanted to get a really strong foundation here in the GTB in terms of getting things going on the three pillars: the Bioregional Learning Center, the Bioregional Foundation, and the portfolio projects, before doing more broad outreach, because it's because of limited time, and because we're trying to stay focused on building the groundwork first. It's easy to go off on tangents because there's so much wonderful work being done out there. So it's a difficult question to answer. It partly depends on where we are in the process, and we try to be very intentional on when is a good time to bring in another group based on where we're at and how it helps the flow of all of the work. Because there's limited time to connect with, there's hundreds and hundreds of different groups out there. It's really good to be aware of what's out there. So I guess maybe the best thing is as you come across groups, if you could email me the information and a link to their website, and then we can be aware of them. If there's particular groups that you want to reach out to personally for other work that you're doing, by all means. I guess that's the closest I can give in terms of a general guidance in terms of connecting with other groups. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that there was Heidi Stelzer from Colorado. She's within the Colorado River Basin, and she works at a school that is primarily for Indigenous students within the area. And she is very engaged in all these different communities. And one of the things that she mentioned that I thought that was really insightful was to always make sure that we're going to their events. So if we have a Haudenosaunee event in Western New York or in Ohio, that it's really important that we go and we support what is most meaningful to them rather than inviting them to just join us. I know that we have STAMP is a really big science education facility that is science and technology facility that is being constructed out in, I think it's Wyoming County in Western New York, and it's going right next to the Tonawanda Band of Seneca Reservation, and it's really impacting a lot of their land. It's a lot of the sewage treatment is actually going through preservation that's on the reservation, and it's causing a lot of issues for the communities out there. So one of the biggest focuses of a lot of environmental organizations out here is supporting the Tonawanda Band of Seneca as they fight a lot of the different infrastructure plans that they're putting into place. And I'm wondering if that might be something that you would be appropriate for you to do, Susan, is to build those relationships and show solidarity and support with what the communities by you are doing and what they need, until maybe there is an opportunity for us to collaborate in some way. Elliot?
There we go. Yeah, making friends is awesome. I was gonna say very, very similar things. And yeah, if there's some things that I could say, but I want to make sure before I say them that this is the right time and place. Are we talking about the Bioregional Summit?
We've kind of moved on from that, but if you want to bring it back to the Bioregional Summit, because you were you joined like towards the end of that conversation, so you can definitely ask questions or bring that up.
So we're talking about, what are we talking about now?
So we kind of pivoted to a lot of what we were talking about in that email thread. I wanted to give the opportunity for people to share on that. And then what Kim brought up was, I don't know how we got onto this topic, but bringing up, collaborating with different groups, particularly, Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee in this area, and what could we do to invite new collaborations in.
Okay. This is Lenape squash that I got yesterday. Got a whole bunch of it. You can bring some seeds to the Bioregional Summit. And yeah, I'll take like I'll aim to keep this under 120 seconds. So Saturday, was the traffic noise too bad in the background, or no? Okay, awesome. Okay, that was 10 seconds right there. So on Saturday, I was at Menomincoin. Menomin is the good seed known as wild rice. It was the staple crop that fed many, 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 many people here, and ducks and all kinds of other things. And it has been systematically eliminated due to violence and colonialism and all of that. So Menomincoin is practicing sovereignty and cultural transmission and revitalization through wild rice, and it is a festival. And imagine this beautiful shining lake and about 20 people harvesting wild rice that wasn't there 4 years ago, but that has been reseeded by an individual who basically was just like, I'm doing this, and then got involved with different communities that had different elements of knowledge about wild rice. So while 20 different canoes are out there harvesting, there's people playing drums and music on shore, and there's kids playing on the beach, and there's tents set up where chefs are cooking, and there's another station where somebody's teaching people how to stir up the wild rice in the cauldron to separate the husks, and then they're getting ready to dance it. And there's all of these things going on, and like Bob Ray spoke before this, and James Wheatung spoke, and the chief spoke, and there's all these good presentations, and it was just this like there's a sunrise ceremony, this very organic flow where people could self-organize, and it was this mixture of learning and building relationships and getting work done. So as I relate this to bringing in other people to whatever this is that we're doing and the Bioregional Summit, I don't know, but the question that I have is, what is something similar to that we could do that is bioregionally appropriate in January? Thank you.
Yeah, I love that as a metaphor for what we could do at the summit, and lots of food for thought. Thanks, Elliot. That's great.
Yeah, I agree. That is just a very strong image that you shared, Elliot. I think that it would be wonderful if we could do something similar. Um, yeah. So I I know that everybody, yeah. Oh, hey, Kim.
I just had an idea. I think it would be nice if we all do an event on our land, on the land. So, no, it could be whatever. But just to, that's a common theme, to get out to the land. And that was a theme when Penny, when you were here, right? One of, especially get the children out to the land. So, just want to share.
Chad.
Hi, I made it back. I'm involved with a group, and there's been interest there expressed in monoman cultivation. So I really like that idea as well, whether it's that or some other exercise, and maybe even developing a set of practice guidelines to help communities in place to carry out that kind of activity. For the summit, mind you, it's going to be January, so some outdoor activities may be, well, many will be made more difficult. But I do like that idea. Just a thought on the other conversation regarding everything that's happening. I think a function of the design school that would be useful, I know for me at least, would be to learn with others exactly what is happening, because I'm also compiling a list of different partners and groups and activities in the area. I mean, locally, but also regionally, and it's a bit overwhelming. I'm also keeping in mind what distinguishes the design school and why I am here, at least in the vision and the paradigm and the offerings that aren't duplicated or aren't sufficiently present amongst those groups at large, as far as I can tell. So just having an articulation of that and how we fit in, I think is useful. And I think about the scale of it too. I keep in mind what the larger vision entails, and a few hundred groups is not much. I mean, I think about the scale of change as being as sort of deft and resourced and and capable as governments themselves, or the level of strategy that you see in corporate boardrooms. I mean, that's sort of the level of the game I think that we need to keep in mind. So it's not like there's the field is full already, right? That's just something that I tell myself to put things in perspective.
Yeah, you raised a good point, Chad, and that's something that we're always keeping in mind is that you've got the on the ground work, but you also need that upper level work. You need that work at the level of systems, at the level of how can we strategically bring together players who have a larger scope and mandate to advance the Bioregional Learning Center, or to advance the collaborative funding ecosystem, or to advance the portfolio projects and a list of things that impact funders could potentially fund. So, and that's something that we're very aware of. And one of the reasons why we brought Joe and Penny in the second time in the summer was for strategic meetings at that upper level. And we do have some things happening in the background at the level of funding and at the level of Great Lakes wide, a Great Lakes wide foundation that are happening behind the scenes, that hopefully by the time the summit gets here, we get to the summit, that some of those will be bubbling up and will be major things to talk about and to work together on.
And actually, Brian, you and I can talk more about this tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. But one thing that came out of a community foundation meeting that I went to last week was that they are, their sort of edge is in systems level change, at least thinking about it. And one thing that they said was that they can't do it alone and that they need partners to work at that scale and are figuring out what that looks like. So that's a live question for not just us, but for potential partners as well.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about more about this tomorrow on our Zoom. There is a growing awareness among funders that business as usual is not working. Some foundations are actually talking about spending down their entire endowment over the next 5 to 10 years because of the scale of the issues that the planet is facing. And we're in touch through Joe. We've been in touch with some leading edge thinkers and in Europe, and one of them is going to visit with us in mid-October. And so this is an area where there is some really promising movement, and if we can try and ride the wave and get in there on the ground floor, it will greatly benefit the work.
So I have a question, and I don't know if we can answer this today, but just because there's so much that the Legacy Project is doing and planning on getting from this retreat, and it is going to be January, which would be harder to get out on the land and enjoy it, I think. Nelly, it's like, no. I mean, honestly, we had our birding festival last year in early February, and we had a really good turnout. So I think if people dress appropriately, they can have a good time inside. But maybe this is something that one of the things that I think was so powerful with the Colorado River Basin retreat was that it was just an activation done with groups, and it self-organizing too. So as important as it is that Joe, Penny, and Benji are coming up, there's also no reason why we couldn't do some sort of follow-up amongst all of our communities, perhaps sometime in the spring as well. Maybe once a lot of the things from the Legacy Project, from your summit kind of comes to fruition, it would be interesting if we could also maybe plan something for around that time, like 2 to 3 months later too.
Just wanted to add one thing that I've been noticing, especially related to the climate. Like Brian says, the endowments are now fluctuating. I just put it in here, I don't know how many millions the Rockefeller Foundation is now giving. And if you read the article, it's specifically related to climate as people realize the situation that we're in. So if we're shifting to talking about raising money for the regenerative projects here within the design school, maybe we can sharpen a focus as how this relates to climate in a way that people can receive that message. We're talking about all different kinds of things here, but maybe that would be, more of a communications thing. Because a lot of people, people are, I feel like millions of people are just now waiting and wanting to do something. So why not here? And we're the people I'm meeting here in the design school and the work that's being done. This is the way forward. This is so, engage now. So just kind of talking without thinking. Oh, sorry. The dollar figure is 1 billion. Just in case you're wondering, 1 billion to climate change initiatives over the next 5 years.
I mean, I think that is a really interesting thought too, because there are things that I think we could be thinking about fundraising for, such as getting the campfires going in Cleveland and doing some of the I know that Dave and Peter also talked about doing some virtual and in-person learning opportunities as well. And so I don't know if anybody here has joined Brandon Letzinger's, I think it's Brandon's, where he's talking about the grant proposal writing that's within the design school. No. Because that might be something that we could consider in the future if we do start to identify some of those projects that we would like to get funded. I think you're right, Kim. The climate change initiatives are really where, and biodiversity loss is really where a lot of the funding is coming in.
Well, the planetary boundaries. I mean, that's where I first heard of that, you know, with Joe's conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Elliot.
So one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot since that meeting that we had around LEAF, Ryan and Penny were there, is to get the process of what we are doing funded on a 20-year time scale, and that process is, it's like both bottom up and top down, but that there is this strategic leadership team that links and ladders projects across the landscape, and that these projects have a degree of specialization, modularity, and partnership built into them. And then my own piece that I add to that is that a way, maybe not the only way, but a way that we discover that is through celebration and ceremony. So specialization, modularity, partnership discovered through both that top-down strategic, whatever metaphor you want to use, boardroom level thinking, and also through celebration and ceremony, where all of the magic happens in those spaces in between. And then related to that, kind of like in the mind map, the next bubble over is the group that we have here right now. I don't know how many of us are, like 8. Like this is like pretty functional for communication, but if it got any bigger, who knows? So, and the like scope that we're talking on is so big here. And what makes sense to me is to have these like really good check-ins and these very good, like open up the scope way up. But then for myself is to focus on, okay, what is my niche and who do I need to communicate to, and how do I create this little bubble of regeneration around myself? And yeah, bunch of other thoughts that probably say the same thing. Yeah.
And related to that, I know I've been talking too much, but there's a book that's really influential for me. It's Sacred Instructions, Indigenous Wisdom for Living Spirit-Based Change. And in it, Sherry Mitchell speaks of 4 systems that, you know, must be transformed. And we were engaged in all of these. So it's, you know, transforming our food systems, protecting our water, transforming energy, and transforming education, where they can be framed in as sovereignty. And maybe if we, you know, those within the design school that are looking for a particular niche, I mean, I know I would like to work with water and food Right, so maybe there's some way, and I'm just thinking of grant proposals, like, people want their contributions to go towards something transforming. So if we can communicate that, and I think we can, just get some pilots going. Doesn't have to be one, it could be, different ones.
Well, I think that one of the efforts that's happening in Erie County is just archiving all of this information and having it in one place. So one of the universities out here, the Western New York Environmental Alliance, has been working on archiving information about geology, biology, topography, food systems, and things like that. And I think that that could be something that, like identifying any of these groups that are already doing this, and connecting with them, but also, I think that we could also add to it. I know that there's groups that are very interested in mapping that Elliot, we still need to talk about. I think that is an area that a lot of groups would be very interested in having some support with. And could that be something that we could provide the community that isn't being filled right now?
I think we've spoken about the information commons in the design school before. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I don't know where we're at because I haven't been attending those mapping calls that Brandon, he just had to put it on hold now for Cascadia, but that bioregional atlas group too, that where we were supposed to be uploading a lot of our mapping information and holding it there, that might be an area that we could focus on. And I wonder if instead of thinking it in terms of these themes that you're talking about, Kim, like what's the functions that we could engage in instead? So like archiving information across all of those themes, that we can have sort of that holistic approach too. I don't know, just a thought.
This is an archive as well.
What did you say that was again?
It's Lenape squash.
Lenape squash.
Yeah. Yeah. If there's interest in wild rice, Chad, my connections are through James Wheaton of Curve Lake First Nation and Black Duck Rice, and Ardoch First Nation and Alderville First Nation. And then I've got some growing at my friend's place, Terry Lynn, as well, where we reshaped the land and dug ponds to reestablish the water flow. And we've been successful in reestablishing it there. So those are some names. Happy to talk about it more.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, we are kind of getting closer to the end of our time. I wanted to mention that so October 9th, we will not be having a meeting in honor of Canadian Thanksgiving. I'm not sure if that's what do you actually call it Thanksgiving? Yeah, okay. But we will have a 1-hour call next Monday, and that is going to be a mapping meeting. And actually, so one of the groups, the Western New York Environmental Alliance, has expressed interest in some mapping they're trying to propose a 30 by 30 within the Erie Niagara region. They want to start proposing policies for conserving 30% of land by 2030 bioregionally across the Great Lakes, and they're working with the Great Lakes Ecoregion Network to do so. And so think that that's another opportunity where we could potentially, if we wanted to create some maps that will be used, they expressed interest in having some of those maps made. So that was one of the things that I would like to focus on next week. But otherwise, I think we could probably wrap it up. If nobody else has anything else to add, we can do our checkouts. Jonathan, would you like to start out?
Sure. For some reason, it seems hard to get the mute button off sometimes. Well, we've covered a lot of ground here today. And so I'm just really thrilled to see this moving forward. And I have to admit, I was doing a little bit of multitasking in the background to move a few things forward on the financial front. So I'm complete. And let me pass it over to Susan.
Thank you, Jonathan. Yeah, lots of great topics came up today, and some clarity in some areas and some lots more weaving to do. And I'm really excited to be very involved here, and I'm still looking for my niche. And I'm thinking it's beginning to show its head here with possibly, as Anna suggested, I might be a good ambassador for more of the Great Lake communities. Elliot, passing it on.
I am happy that I took some time to be parked here at the side of the road. I'm also very excited to move on my way and not have cars racing by me. And yes, I've got some seed keeping tasks that I need to do. And yes, thank you all for being here. I will pass it over to Beatrice.
Hello, everyone. I'm new to the this whole group, but a kind of old timer doing bioregional work in the Great Lakes, primarily from a base in Chicago, where I lived for many years, and we created a local group there called the Wild Onion Alliance. And so I'm still finding my way around the multiple activities in this group and really appreciating them. So it just I just want to say keep going, and eventually I'll figure out where I can be useful and helpful. I'm scheduled to do one of the storytelling sessions in the 10th of October or something like that. Really, I'm sure it'll be publicized, but so I'll share more about my bioregional journey. But meanwhile, it's just feels wonderful to be in the midst, even if it's virtually, with a big diverse group of people who can use the word bioregion and with some understanding of what the hell they're talking about. So I look forward to hearing more from you all and contributing when I can. And let's see, I don't know, I'm on my phone here, so maybe if some, wait a minute.
Maybe Victoria, would you like to go next?
Sure. Well, I'm buoyed by the energy that I hear all around. So keep it up. It's fascinating, amazing, and it's the right thing to be doing. Thank you all. Penny, did you go?
Thanks, everybody. I was telling Joe, gosh, I love this group. I just love this group of people. I don't know. I have a lot of affection for all of you. So I'm feeling that, and I'm feeling excited for the summit and for whatever we co-create together. It's going to be amazing. So yeah, feeling good. Who has not gone? Somebody raised their hand. Who? Brian, did you go? Brian.
Yeah, thanks, Penny. Great to connect with everybody, and lots of food for thought. And Penny, safe travels, you and Joe, tomorrow, and hope everything goes well. And best of luck for a wonderful Cascadia trip and many new connections. I'll pass it over to Kim.
Just grateful and really happy to see everyone. Like my favorite thing is like picturing everyone around the different parts of the Great Lakes, and I'm thrilled that Beatrice is in Chicago. And I don't know if anyone knows how much Ann Arbor, where Chad is, has so many organizations working with water. It's like amazing. And I'm also happy that Chantel came. I hope she comes to more. She's a wonderful human being, and her relationship with water is something I really treasure, and how that has made its way into actual governmental policies, which is something that I just think is really cool. And also the way forward, to be in relationship with everything. So, and this group is like this. So thank you. And I'll pass to Chad. Did Chad check out?
I have not. Yeah, I'm wondering it. There is a lot going on here. I'm trying to sort through it. I'm thinking maybe I'll be an ambassador for here as well, which then makes me think, is there an ambassador role and what that would look like? How would we present the design school, and how is that distinct from inviting members in, or what's the relation there, you know? Yeah, but I think it was many conversations in one, covered the ground, and in a way that at least for me, is beginning to fit together. So yeah, I see the pieces forming. So, thanks all. And I may be the last one here. Is that right? Anybody else have to go?
Yeah, I think everybody's checked out. And just that comment about it, the ambassador role, that's I think that's a very interesting point, Chad, because I think that is one thing that in Colorado, you know, they were talking about doing a lot of weaving with different organizations and groups in their community, but not necessarily focusing on trying to bring in more membership to the design school necessarily. Like people could become community members if they wanted to, but that focus is more on the networking and connection within the communities. So I think that's a really good point, that maybe that's something that we should explore a bit more too. How do we become effective ambassadors? All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful Monday. And Beatrice, I'm so glad that you were able to join.
Yes, me too. Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.